It's been a pretty amazing year in 2024, personally for you as well as the industry at large. And it's been really fascinating to watch which markets have bubbled up to the top after a challenging 2023 for most of the markets. So I'd love your perspective on what you've seen, especially at your desk, as you've had a fabulous year.
Yeah, well, first of all, it's been a minute since you and I have sat down in studio, so it's great to do this again. And yeah, I'd say the neuro space has really stuck out for me. I took some notes like I always do, and I mean, it's growing like a weed. And we're working with brain health companies like MedTech now, and we'll get into focused ultrasound here in a minute. But I just really got into a company that's using rhythmic auditory stimulation. As you know, we're doing a CCO search for them, and it's amazing all the applications for neurostimulation. So I see that market growing like crazy. Of course, we've done work with spinal cord stimulation companies, but when you talk about the brain, their first indication is for stroke. So they're helping people ambulate quicker. They're able to monitor their gait with sensors on the shoes and proprietary technology that goes to your smartwatch or your phone. So I really see that neuro market growing, as well as the focused ultrasound market. Much like pulse field ablation is all the rage right now, I can see focused ultrasound in 2025 being sort of the belle of the ball. And as my desk continues to grow on the neuro side, we're also seeing robotics come into that space. So whether it's robotics for deep brain stimulation or brain surgery, we're even seeing robotics for oncology. We're doing a VP of sales for an oncology robot. Right now they've got indication for the abdomen, but pretty soon they're going to have it for the lung, big area. We just did a CEO search for a lung health company, and then they're going to be into the bone. So I really see all these markets sort of converging into exponential growth. And I took some notes. 218 billion by 2030 is where surgical robotics will be. So 70% growth. And then focused ultrasound, 13 billion by 2030. So
that focused ultrasound is really interesting. You've got MedTech, you've got Histosonics, right? You've got a couple players in there, and
yeah.
We had recently put the CCO on over at MedTech, who's I think one of the best emerging early career leaders that the industry's got right now. And we were chatting with him yesterday, and he said, I just got back from a procedure, and I'm getting goosebumps, because he said the patient came out and said to him, I haven't been able to hold a cup and a saucer, was it?
A fork.
A fork
for
18 years.
18 years.
And after one procedure, and the CCO said, that's why we go to work every day.
That's it. And it's not just the life-changing technology too, it's the paradigm shift, right? So deep brain stimulation was the gold standard. Deep Brain did about 2,000 procedures, something like that last year. Focused ultrasound for the brain did 4,200 for this particular indication. So that's pretty one-sided in the favor of focused ultrasound. And when you're thinking about, what type of procedure do I want to have a loved one have? It's the least invasive, right? So you go in to get a focused ultrasound procedure, you get the imaging done in the MRI, and you sit there for 20 minutes. That's how long the procedure. So you go in shaking, right? It's for essential tremor, and you come out 20 minutes later not shaking. That's life-changing.
Non-surgical.
Non-surgical, right? And you mentioned Histosonics. They're doing the same thing for the liver, right? So less invasive ways to destroy tumors. Another company, Profound Medical, is doing it in the prostate. And then you're combining, high-intensity focused ultrasound with robotics in that procedure. So the convergence of all these technologies, robotics, ultrasound, all coming into one, it's a super exciting time to be in med device. And, you and I continue to get inbound calls from people that we're looking to put into leadership roles at these companies.
Yeah. And on that subject, Ryan, if you're giving guidance to let's call it a VP or C-level person, what should be the top one or two questions they should be asking themselves as they align with a talent access partner?
Well, number one, they need to ask themselves, when was the last time I networked on behalf of my own career? Because so many people we talk to have been embedded in an organization for years, and they haven't worked on outreach. So a line I've always used, even back in the days when I was running sales training at Boston Scientific, is people cannot choose an option they don't know exists. You need to make people know you exist. And it's not a braggadocious thing. It's connecting with people that can move your career forward. Just making that networking outreach. So that's number one. And number two is, if you're not updating your experiences, LinkedIn is your living resume. If you're not updating it, nobody's going to be able to find you for what you're good at. So I'll give you an example. I'm working on 2 VP of marketings right now, one for in vitro fertilization company, one for a brain health company. And these are marketing people. And we go through their LinkedIn together, we go through their resume, and the bullets don't match. So they got to match, number one, right? Because the only people that see your resume are the people you send it to. Very limited audience. The other thing is, you're in marketing. This is the most bland LinkedIn I've ever seen. There's no media. There's maybe a profile picture that's in their car. There's no background banner. So we take the time to walk them through, hey, here's a real easy way to professionalize your LinkedIn and really have a modern resume. So those are the 2 things for me. Update your experiences, connect with the talent access professionals, quite honestly, Joe, that you want to connect your career to. And that's a question we always ask is, you've worked with these people, but would you use these same people to move your career forward?
Yeah, and that's what's really interesting is especially as you work with the organizations, the mid-caps, even the emerging tech, and work on these C-level suite searches and the VP searches, you're calling into those VPs and C-suite as it is, as potential candidates.
Yeah.
What I'm most proud of on your desk and nearly everybody's desk at the senior level that calls there from TMG is that's usually where we get our business from. Is the person had felt this respect, heard, immediate communications back, white glove service, knowledge of the industry, and the calls come in and say, listen, I know I didn't get the job, but the experience I had with Blasko was unbelievable, and I want to use you as our search firm. And so I think that should be the question that you ask is, would I use this search firm for myself on who's working on my opening today?
Yeah, and that's been the most rewarding part of this job. You do a great job. I tell my wife this all the time. She goes, how often do you talk to Joe? I said, well, nearly every day, but we have a debrief once a week. So when I was in med device, most of my debriefs would get pushed or rescheduled, and I'd maybe do 1 a month. I mean, I've been here almost 3 years. We do 52 a year, every year.
Right.
And so that's been rewarding having that conversation with you. But to the point you mentioned earlier, the people that don't get the roles end up being our clients where they do get the roles. And specifically, we have a company called the Morel Company we just started working with. They've created the Hercules technology. It's basically robotics for a hospital bed. It can reposition a patient up to 750 pounds with the push of a button. And the origin story, you were on that initial intake call, is amazing. Bill Hillenbrand, CEO, formerly of Hillrom, went off on his own, bootstrapped it, $2 million of his own dollars, started in 2014, and here we are 10 years later. They're growing at 200% year over year, and they're expanding throughout the US. And the VP of sales, John Ponce, was with us for another opportunity, and our client had a delay, so he took another opportunity. But then he called us and said, hey, I'm here. I want to build it out, and I want to use the Mullings Group. Another example of that is in vitro fertilization company based in Miami, and they're a Swedish company. And they're building out now, and another person, Erin Shard, was with us for a search. Didn't get it, but she landed here, and she said, I want to use you. That is why we do what we do. Not just to get the business, to build the trust and respect of the people we work with, so no matter where they go in their career, we're going to be connected. And there's so many examples of that over the last year, Joe, that I never would have imagined. Because it didn't happen in the first year, because I hadn't had the chance to work with that many people. So the future is bright not only for the people we work with in the companies, but for our firm, just through this relationship of respect that we've built.
Yeah, and we say all the time, in nearly every training session, is the least important person that we just went through on that search is the person who got the job that they wanted. The most important persons are the probably 3 to 4 finalists that didn't get the job. And the others that didn't make it to finals as well. Yet the people who went to finals that didn't get it, they matter more because you got what you wanted. Awesome. We're happy for you. We're happy for our client. But how did the people feel who ended up not getting it? And then we make sure we wrap those up incredibly well, high level of respect, high level of communication. And I think that's why time after time, most of our business comes from those people who worked with us but didn't get the role because they know that we're going to treat their customers that they're trying to attract in a similar fashion.
Think about the psychology of it. You could have a performance review and get 9 good marks and 1 negative mark. You're going to focus on the negative one. We focus on the people that we didn't get placed. You know, where did I fall short to not help this person get to the finish line, and how can I help them even more moving forward? So I'm always hungry. If a search gets over for a VP of sales and I've got another VP of sales or an ascending role to a CCO, I want to see if I can get that person involved, if it makes sense. Because I almost feel like I let them down. And that's a beautiful thing, to be able to have that sort of laser focus for our clients and for the candidates and individuals we work with. So.
Agreed. One of the byproducts of us working with those emerging tech companies and looking for executives for them, whether it's VP suite, C-suite and above, is we generally will also go after some of the large strategics and chat with the people who might have a ceiling that they're hitting up against. And again, they come in, they might not get the opportunity, but they go back to the strategic. And now we have the big strategics, which we never pushed into before, now coming to us to fulfill their roles.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we have the leader in women's health, breast and skeletal health. We're working on a VP of sales role. Just hired a national director of breast surgery to help lead their tuck-in acquisition. So that's exciting. I mean, when I came here almost 3 years ago, it was 150 million or less in revenue was sort of our sweet spot. So seed round, Series A, Series B, and you know, you'll do all the technical stuff pre-commercial. I would do a lot of the post-commercial build out. But now we're seeing the mid caps, you know, 100 million, like brain health company, and then this breast and skeletal health company. We're dipping into ortho. It's exciting because that's the world I came from, right? Before I got into the startups, I started with the large companies, so I know that world really well, and I know what we can offer them.
Yeah, and what I think's happening, Ryan, is there's a small awakening in these large strategics that are saying, okay, we have our own internal search function, and they're good.
Yeah.
They're doing a nice job. However, at this VP and above level, we need a different level of penetration, a different level of sophistication, an already established pipeline, an already established brand there. And so what happens is those organizations now are saying, I need a force multiplier. We've decided, and here's another thing that's really interesting. We've decided that we're not going to internally promote because we need new on-the-edge thinking, renegade blood, not an echo chamber, which happens more often in a large strategic than not, because what do? You compromise being an outlier, because if you're an outlier in a corporate, you become outside. Expendable, right, because you're not marching to the drum of that leader. So we're seeing these really thoughtful, progressive companies now embrace a pipeline of, we would never have access to these people before. And then we're doing a great job of articulating. We don't take every strategic, by the way, that knocks on our door. We should mention that, because some of them just aren't matching our brand.
Right.
Is I can't go to Grandpa's Oldsmobile as a TMG customer and represent it, because we don't believe in it. We only work with those who we believe in. So I think that's part of it, is the big strategics now are realizing their talent access team doesn't have access to these force multipliers like outsiders do. An investment in a search fee with the right search partner makes total sense.
The other point I'll mention, Joe, is talent is getting bombarded now. With social media access to everyone, talent gets bombarded, and so it just gets ignored, right? We all have junk email and spam accounts. It just gets ignored. The people that are picking up the phone are only picking it up because TMG is calling, period. And those are the people you want to talk to, not the ones that are actively looking, but the ones that are head down, driving a number, doing what the organization needs them to do. Those are the people our clients, the larger strategics, want to get their hands on, and they don't have access to currently. And as you mentioned, it's not a talent access issue with their own company. It's just a networking issue. And nobody's more networked with MedTech than we are.